teacher for English in ReloD. So I come from Argentina, and I've been working in ReloD for 7 years. Yes. Nowadays we are living a quite special situation. Yes, we have to stay at home, we have to take care about ourselves, about the people around us. So unfortunately we can't have lessons in our institute, but we began to think new alternatives to not stop studying. Good. So as you could notice before, we are having lessons different days with different teachers, and we try to speak about different topics. Yes. The idea is to speak about different trends for the future. Yes, things that we are going to experience, that we are going to live in the next maybe 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, and so on. Yes. Sometimes during the lessons I like to speak about different sides, about situations. Yes. About advantages and disadvantages. Yes. I expect, I hope that all of you are familiar with the vocabulary I am using. If you have some doubts, some questions, please write them down there. Yes, and at the same time I can answer you to the commentaries you are sending. Good. So if you have any questions, any suggestions, of course you can let me know. Good. And I will try to answer if I can. Good. So sometimes we talk about advantages and disadvantages. Yes. Of course, disadvantages of staying at home is that we can't meet with our friends, our relatives that don't live close to us. Yes. Go outside, spend time in the nature. But on the other side, I guess that spending at home is a very good time for reading. Good. So reading is one of my favorite hobbies. I do it quite often. So today I wanted to share some information with you. Okay, Elena, I am from Argentina. Yes, as I said at the beginning, I am from Argentina. I came to Russia in the year 2013, so more than 7 years living here and looking forward to stay more time. Well, nice to meet you, Elena. Well, so as I was telling you, I want to share some information. The topic for today will be trends for the future. Yes, so one of my sources, so if we want to repeat some of the words we know, a good idea is to explain them in English. Yes, so the source of something is the origin, where something starts. Good. So many of the ideas I will tell you, good, I took from, for example, this book, The Inevitable, from Kevin Kelly. Yes, which is let's say a scientist from the United States specialized in technologies. Yes. And other source I have this time, I have it in Spanish, not in English. It's a writer by the name Yuval Noah Harari. He's famous, among other things, by a book called Sapiens and Homo Deus. Yes, it's a kind of trilogy. This is the last one. Good. And in these books, the author studies what is going to come in the next years. Okay, and where does it come from as well. Good. I also like reading Russian sources too. Yes, one of my favorite places where I can get some useful information is, for example, the magazine RBK. So they usually every month they do special issue with different topics. So this one is especially about future trends. Hello, Maxim. Nice to meet you. And okay, they create some forecasts about what are we going to experience. Good. So I found it quite accessible, so easy to read for people who are not specialized on this. So I think it's still possible to find in the shops. Good. Okay. Good. We will try to mix some grammar with some vocabulary too. Good. Okay. So as you know, when we talk about future, yes, we have different possibilities of doing so in English. Yes, maybe the best known way we use it is when we talk with the will form. Good. Okay. We have the word in English predictions. Yes, I hope you understand everything I said. So predict is try to anticipate, try to know what will happen in the future. Yes. Okay. Different tenses in use in English for future. We have a will, we have going to, and we have present continuous like future when we talk about arranges. Yes, when we are meeting with someone. So in that case we will use present continuous like future. Good. Okay. So if we want to predict, to speak about the future and use will, okay, maybe we are saying that because of an opinion I have. It seems to me, that is what I think. So it's more personal than objective fact, let's say. Good. Okay. So also will when we are not 100% sure that something will happen. Good. Okay. And the difference with going to will be that going to is a prediction based in a fact that is certain nowadays. Yes, so I can see that the winter is coming, let's say. So I can say, okay, soon there is going to be snow. Yes, there is not a personal opinion. It's not that it seems to me, just is a fact of nature. Winter is coming, so snow will appear. It usually happens like that. Good. So that will be a prediction, difference between will and going to. So when we talk about predictions for future, of course, is kind of difficult to do it because every time we have a plan, something suddenly appears and change our expectations. But anyway, some things we can try to guess. Good. Okay. So in that case, if we talk about future with going to, we can take some statistics. Yes. How, I don't know, some different factors that are important for the future are developing. Yes, and according to that we can try to guess what is going to happen. Good. Okay. So having said that, I want to speak about some more trends we have. Maybe not all of them will happen, but some of them are already a reality. Good. Okay. When we look at the future, it's necessary sometimes to look at the past just to realize the complete movie and not to see, let's say, just a picture. Good. So if we take the history of the last maybe 20, 30, 40, 50 years, we understood that most important things, yes, were the objects itself. Yes. Okay, so you bought, let's come back to our book, or let's say to our clothes, and you have the objects and you use that object by itself. Yes, a shirt, it's always a shirt, let's say. Yes, a lamp is always a lamp. Good. Okay, but nowadays we were living an era of transformations, let's say. Yes, and when we buy something, we don't buy it just because of the things, but because of the activities we can do for that. So an example can be, let's say, a telephone. Yes, all of us have one, but most of people don't use it only just to make calls. Maybe that is what people less do it. Good. So there are some other technologies that are being applied to existent objects. Good. So why is it important, the appearance of objects like smartphones? Good, because series of new other technologies are being developed and created for that. Good. Let's talk about the internet, maybe will be easier, or the personal computers and so on. So the internet did possible that other services began to appear. Yes. Okay, so some years ago, if we wanted to, let's say, book a hotel, we just went to a tourist agency, or we got the number of a hotel and we just made a phone call. Good. Today, nowadays, we have a wider variety of possibilities. So you take your smartphone, you log into the internet, and you can compare different possibilities, let's say. Yes. And okay, you have a wider option on that. Good. I don't know, some of the easiest services are being transformed all the time. Good. So very easy example that we see every day is, for example, calling a taxi. Yes. So in the past you just call it. Nowadays you immediately can see where the driver is going. You can see his history, how he's behaved, a rating he has, and so on. So because of that, more important nowadays are services than product itself. Good. Okay, so every time a technology appears, so some other applications, let's say, or some other products are used to increase or make that product widely used. Good. Okay. As we have more progress, yes, we at the same time began to have new problems as well. So one of the ideas in this book is that every time we create new possibilities, new, let's say, technologies, new ways to solve old problems or new problems, okay, at the same time we are creating new problems as well. So we create as much benefits as problems. Good. Okay, good. In that scenario, people have to move and okay, try to, let's say, survive. Good. Okay. We have different habits that are being changed. Yes, a good example is what we have to do right now. Yes, usually I have my students in the lessons, but nowadays we have to do it at a distance. Good? So more and more technology will change the possibilities or the different professions, let's say. Good. So if a teacher in the past had only to stay in front of the class to speak with people, just to write properly in the whiteboard and so on, okay, nowadays it's mandatory to know how to deal with different technologies. Yes, because people will have lessons not only in institutes, schools and so on, but more and more from their houses or wherever they are. Good? So that is a trend that we have been experiencing for the last 10 years, and with the situation nowadays that will only become more intensive. Good. Okay, so at the same time different jobs are disappearing. Okay, most of all the classical jobs that we have in factories, yes, and more different, a wider range of professions are being created. Yes, according to the possibilities we have to study the future. Nowadays people say that professions that will be in 20-30 years are still unknown nowadays. So it's a kind of challenging, because we need to prepare ourselves to perform a job. Yes, so the classical idea of education in the past was that we go to university maybe for 4, 5, 6 years. Yes, and okay, that will be the job you will do for the rest of your life. Good, but nowadays that can be a bit different. Yes, so you get one education, yes, and after sometimes you will have to continue studying, and even sometimes will begin to do a completely different job. Good, okay, so because of that we can understand that professions or everything becomes more flexible. Yes, an idea of this writer Noah Harari in one of his previous books is that our identities will be changing all the time. Good. So he said our identity, what we think we are in the past, was just like a house. Yes, you build a house and the house will always be there in the same place and will have more or less the same shape. Good. Nowadays that is not something that can describe the future. Nowadays our identities become more like a tent, he said. Yes, so what do we mean? As reality is changing all the time, we have to change as well. Yes, we need to, okay, and here we can mention words like update, upgrade, and so on. Good. The problem is that we can't do that easily. So it takes some time until you understand the new technology, you get all that knowledge, and you begin to use it, and you can make that knowledge your job, let's say. Good. Okay. So if you can become more flexible, okay, you will have less problems to adapt to new realities. So there where it comes the idea of a tent. So you put the tent in the place where you want to live. Yes. Well, if then you realize that place is not longer suitable for you, okay, you just take the tent to another place that allows you to continue your life, let's say. If you have a home, okay, you can't move it. Good. So our identities, our professions, yes, our habits will be more and more like that. Yes. An example is what is going on with the belongings we have. Yes, so maybe in the past we were used to buy I will always come to books. Yes, so in the past old people like me were used to buy physical books, let's say. Yes, nowadays that is changing also, because sometimes people prefer not to have their physical books, because I mean they need some space at home, and sometimes it can be expensive. Yes, although more expensive is not to read books, but nowadays we have possibilities to get the electronic versions of the books. Even more, some years ago I went to the bookshop and I don't know exactly what the book is about, but now because of the internet I have access to what other readers said about that. Yes, and because of that, okay, I can understand if I would like that or not. So the website Amazon.com understood this idea perfectly. So their main advantage over their competitors is that they created a system that allows you to see what other people think about that, and not only that, but also according to the searches you have done in that page. Good. The computer has an algorithm that will recommend what would you like to read. Yes. Okay. Good. Another trend we have for the future is that the appearing of screens everywhere. Yes. Nowadays we are used to spend a lot of hours maybe just watching the screen of our telephones, of our personal computers, less and less our TV sets, but we are adding screens to more and more objects. So one of the unavoidable trends for the future is what they say, the Internet of Things. So everything will be connected online. For example, once I read, if I'm not mistaken, was in this book, The Inevitable, when the writer said that we will begin to have smart fridges, for example. They will tell us what ingredients, what products do we have inside, and what can we cook from those stuff. Yes. Another possibility is that the fridge understands what are your habits, what are your preferences. Yes, and because of that, we'll understand what will you order next. Yes. So after it gets some information, okay, then you will not need to go to the supermarket, because the fridge will automatically order the food for you. Yes, that is possible because people have constant habits. We want to do always the same stuff, consume the same kind of product. So the fridge can easily understand about that. It will begin to know you. Yes, and you will have to forget about some of the usual house job. Okay, good. Hello, Zakaria. Nice to see you. If some of you have some questions, please feel free to ask about them. Good. If I am able to answer, okay, I will do it. Good. So, one of the change in our habits of consumption. Good. But not only that. For example, now I am a bit old-fashioned, so I like to have the books, but nowadays people are doing something just differently. Yes, they have their devices, their tablets, and so on, and sometimes I go to the bookshops and buy several of them. So sometimes they can be in my shelf for several weeks, sometimes months. Yes, the advantage that electronic books have is that they are always online. Yes, so you can buy it at the moment you will read it. Good. Something a bit scary, because future brings new possibilities but new fears, new challenges, things that we will not be happy with, is that perhaps we will be living under constant surveillance. Yes, so we are watching all the time. Someone or something will be watching us. An example that sounds like a science fiction is the one related to e-books. So you have the kind of tablet, and that tablet has a camera on it. So nowadays, and that's all. Good. But they say in the future, even nowadays, the book will also be able to read your emotions while you are reading. So the books will know exactly which line, which page are you reading, and understand if you like or you don't like that. Good. According to that, okay, that information can be sent to the writer and tell them, okay, chapter 9 is the one that people don't like to read, or most of people stopped reading the book when they reach chapter 9. Good. Or in page 217, people really laughed about that. Yes, or people become really shocked when they knew those facts you wrote in page 877. Good. So now we will be watched by our staff. Good. So one of these things is what we call, okay, artificial intelligence will be, let's say, everywhere. Good. Okay. So as I said, I like to have things, but now we are experiencing the trend of sharing. Good. A well-known example, perhaps not so common in medium and small cities. Yes, maybe in Kirov not so common, or maybe inexistent nowadays, but in big cities like Moscow, people like or began to share things that nowadays we don't. A good example of it is our cars. Yes, so most of us, or most of people, uses their car early in the morning. They go to work, they park their car for several hours, and for 8, 9, 10 hours the car will be stationary. Yes, and no one will touch it. So some people began to ask themselves, what's the use of having a thing that you will not use for most of time? So because of some applications and the development of high quality internet, yes, you will always be able to rent a car from, let's say, 8 a.m. till 8:17. That is the time you need to reach your job. Yes, and when you come back home, okay, the same. You will have the car delivered to your house or your working place. So apparently no need to buy cars or things like that. Good. Okay, books, people can forget about that. Sometimes technologies make possible to stop buying some things. For example, some years ago, people like me used to buy compact discs to listen to music. Okay, nowadays, if I ask you, some of you, some teenagers, okay, they have never done anything like that. Good. And maybe they even don't download. They can listen the music online, so you don't need to own that. Good. Okay. Also, maybe more and more companies related to sharing will be created in the future. Good. Okay. Okay. Good. Some of the other things that will be among us in the future are related to our healthy habits. Yes. And well, the traditional idea of medicines says that we go to the doctor every time we feel a pain somewhere in our health, and so on. The Trends for the Future says that we will stop doing that, and more often we'll go to the doctors when we feel completely well, because the idea is just to not let illnesses to appear, to happen. So you began to treat before something happens. Good. Okay. So that is a trend that is happening nowadays in the close future, and in a not so distant future. Yes, some people began to speak even about the possibility of being immortal. Yes, we die because we have some illnesses, because some parts of our body, some of our organs don't work very well. So medicine and science have a solution for all of that. Good. Nowadays we are listening more and more news related about the success in some scientists that they could create some organs. Yes. So every time we will have a problem with some of our body parts, that will be possible to be replaced. So some writers even go as far as to say that people will stop dying, or will stop dying at least for natural reasons. Yes, because of heart diseases, because some problems with our, I don't know, stomach, with our blood, and so on. We will only die even okay, only in cases that we have accidents and things like that. Good. So that is one of the possible things we will see in the future. Good. Okay. A consequence of that is that world population is going to be more and more old. Good. And we will be even more people in this planet. Good. So one of the things I liked, I show it again, from this magazine, is that they, in one of the articles, they say about what are we going to expect from different decades in the next until 200, until next 70 years. Good. So they say that by the year 2057, yes, there will be 10 billion people living in the planet. Yes, nowadays we are 7.7 billion. Yes, people will be much older than nowadays, so maybe more professions related to taking care of grown-up people will appear and will be more profitable. Good. So they said average of world population will be 40 years in 2015. Good. Okay, life expectancy, yes, how many years people will live will be much higher than today. Good. And okay, another consequence they say is that we will began to work less and less time. Good. Okay, something that we already know is that manual, everything we do with our hands will have less and less value, and everything we produce with our mind will be more and more valuable. Good. So services will be more profitable than things we can produce in factory or with our hands. So knowledge will be better paid in the future, and at the same time everything related with the creativity is harder to be replaced by new technologies. Good. So we don't know exactly how future will be, but we can be sure that the more we study, the more we learn, the more information we can process, yes, will help us to live better. Good. Okay. Well, I think I spoke too much for today. If you have some questions, maybe related to this topic, maybe related to other topics you would like to talk about, you may ask them now, yes, and we can continue discussing about that. If not, we can finish our translation now. Well, what I like from this situation, we can understand that sitting at home is a problem, but we can take it as an opportunity. Good. I take this opportunity to read as much as I can. So hopefully, when we meet again in our classrooms, okay, all of us will be much better, much clever, and we will have more desire to continue studying. Good. Okay. I see there are no questions, so maybe we can finish our conversation for today. Yes, it was very pleasant to have this experience, these ways of communicating. I hope we do it more often in the future. Good. So have a nice evening for all of you. Yes, and take your time for reading and continue having more knowledge. Good. Goodbye.